here on Zoom at the Cosmic Center and on Facebook Live. Baba Sharon over here. So, when I came in, I was really thinking about, what I wanted to chat today about. I've been talking about a lot of things and what's currently happening and how we have to tune into that higher part of ourselves because we know that things now, it's very hard to tell what's real from what's not. So for example, they can capture your voice, for example, and they can capture your image, and they can have you as a personality, okay, with your voice talking, but it's not you doing that. We have to be very, very aware of what's happening. So a lot of us are going to say, well, wow, how do we maneuver? How do we go? How can we discern what's real from not real? Because have you seen the new AI individuals? They look like regular people, like how I'm talking. I'm not AI generated, by the way. I'm real. Okay, I'm here at the Cosmic Center currently in Sarasota, Florida. But there's some images that speak as if you're thinking it is a real human that is talking, and it's not. So I know all of us have been exposed to that to see what's going on. So again, how we, the Adam Kadmon, the divine human, the human being, okay, how are we going to maneuver through this? And first of all, we have to identify as to who we are. We do know that we are in a physical, three-dimensional, three-density world, and we have a physical body, what I like to call our earth suit. We know that. Okay, and we do know that we do have these physical senses where you can see and hear and taste and touch. Okay, but also too, for many, many, many of us, we also understand that there is another aspect of ourselves which is not physical, and that we hold something that is way transcended from this physical world. And that's what we need to talk about, because we begin to rise in our awareness and consciousness and begin to say, well, the proverbial question, what's going on? What is my purpose and why am I here? Okay, now we have to start knocking on those doors and keep on knocking and knocking and knocking. And we could go by some of the ancient writings that have been for thousands and thousands of years. Most recently, we could take a look at the Torah, the New Testament, from the Judeo-Christian perspective. There's also other cultures, okay, but they all talk of the same thing, that we are more than what this physical reality or this physical mirror is placing back to us. We're so much more than that. And that puts us on our path of seeking, our path of knocking on the door. Okay, and as you begin to do that, and those of that are here, okay, when we go into a transmission, when we go into a meditation, that taps us into this higher reality that exists. Okay, in fact, because of the limitations of our limited physical body and the sensory perceptions that we're able to get through it is so limited. Okay, who here can see a gamma ray? Who here can see microwaves? Okay, who here can see that? No, we can't see it through this. Okay, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that there are other perhaps sentient beings that have a more expanded level of frequency bands that are able to see vibrations that we can't see. Like just taking our own planet. Let's look at dogs, okay, the canines. All right, their sense of smell is like 1,000 more than what we're able to do. Okay, so we have to look and say that, we may not be getting the whole 100% picture, which now allows us to start to question. And that's when the path of seeking begins. And all of us that are here right now are definitely started out as seekers, trying to find out what's going on. Why am I here? What is our purpose? But now we are at an unprecedented time, at least in recent history, where we could really begin to pierce through to find the answers, or a large amount of the answers. That we can begin to now say, all right, I'm ready to take it to the next level to understand. And when we are able, okay, to stay on that path and bypass all those things that want to keep us limited. What are those things that want to keep you limited? Fear, okay, and fear is a big one, okay? And then the other one too is just being busy, survival mode. All those things, these are constructs to say you don't have time to seek. You don't have time to reflect. Just go ahead and watch the boob tube, get entertained, go to bed, wake up, eat, go to work, come back and do that. That is like, robot type, which they're building some right now. But we're not robots, okay? We are the Adam Kadmon. We come from the highest celestial realms of light. That's our true nature. Okay, so if we start to really seek, and that's what we were having discussion. You don't have to listen to what anybody says because the answers are within yourself, your own self. Your true self is going to wonder and say, what's going on? I need to find answers. And you know what that's going to require? That's going to require you questioning everything. It's like starting from a reboot, starting from scratch, starting as if you're a little kid, brand new on the planet. Okay. And then you have to begin to see what was my feeling before what? The indoctrination. Okay. We are now at a point where we have to say, I've been doing this because my mother has always done it. Her mother has always done it. Her mother has always done it. And on and on. My ancestors have always done this. This is how this has always been. Okay, we're the generation, we are the light workers who have come at this point in time to say, you know what? Wait a minute. We want to know the original source of where this comes from. What's the original source? And I always tell this joke. It's a little corny joke, but it gets the point. And the joke is, this guy marries his new wife, and they have this big dinner, and she has this piece of meat, but she always cuts off the very end of it and throws it in the garbage. He's like, "Why are you doing that?" She says, "My mother's a tradition in my family. We do that." He asked the mother, "Why do you do that?" She says, "It's a tradition in my family. My mother's always done it." And he finally gets to see the grandmother. And he said, "Why is this tradition where you cut off the end of this meat with the bone, and not cook it?" She said, "Well, I had to do it because my stove was too small." So it's a joke, but the idea is that we may be continuing or having a mindset or a worldview of something and not independently checking it out for ourselves. What about that? That's okay. You follow me. You don't need to know. I'll tell you. Run. Run if you run into that sort of thing, because we all, each and every one of us, hold that puzzle piece, and we're all importing to the divine collective. If we show up in our authenticity, okay, if we dare to make known the unknown about ourselves, our capacity, what we have, who we truly are, we will be just amazed as so many sentient beings in this multiverse are of who we are, because we're not this physical world. We're in it, but we're not of it. That's what Jesus the Christ said. Is you are in this world. Yeah, yeah, we're in it, but we're not of it. So the question is, where we come from? Where do we come from? And you go your search now in the age of Aquarius, you have access to information like we've never had before. As I've said, you could go on your phone and get information from the Library of Congress. You could read the Enuma Elish. You could read the Sumerian tablets. You can read things from all around the planet because there were scribes in all civilizations. You now have those that are now interpreted. What about the Book of Manny? Who's Manny? Manny had a world religion, spiritual movement that talked about the Christ energy. And it was almost a whole world thing to it. Okay, until I guess the counterverse didn't like that. He was uniting people, honored people with their own traditions and their own cultures, but understanding that we were all one. Nobody, 9 out of 10 people don't know who Manny is. And he was a tremendous impact on this planet. How many others All things we don't know. The word Manichaean comes from the prophet Mani. And I just using that as example of one that had a huge impact on our planet, and we don't know about it because we have been sort of programmed into a very narrow narrative. Don't you trust yourself that you're able to make some decisions on your own? Don't you think that you have the capability of being able to discern and understand and do things? So why can't you check things out for yourself and come to your own conclusions, as opposed to the indoctrination literally from our birth into this matrix, into this Maya that says, here's your social security. This is what's done. Those people are the enemies. Okay, this is how you are to behave. Yeah, you have some flexibility to express yourself. And yeah, we have to have not chaos. We have to have some level of organization, but that's different from control. This is how it is. This is how it will be. And don't ask questions. Don't think further than that. And we are now at a point that I feel in the cycle of times, okay, very parallel to what was going on in Atlantis. And we have to look at Atlantis, see what's going on there, what did they do? And you'll start to see some parallels between that and here now. And I'm sure there's other civilizations that, have come and gone, come and gone, come and gone. But let's say the most recent one is Atlantis. And you will see, according to Edgar Cayce and from the records of Plato and others, okay, that they got to an area where they were saying, well, we could start to clone people and use technology and let's hybrid technology and humanity. And again, service to self, where the path of righteousness started to veer off. But we're not going to do that again this time, right? We're not going to, because there's more and more people that are waking up. And part of that waking up is, I want to check this out and come to my own conclusions. One of the resources, there's many. Okay, I love the Emerald Tablets, okay, by Thoth. Okay, and you have the Hermetic principles, and there's many other traditions that are out there. But I always say I'm interested in those things that are hidden or has been said by the establishment heretical. Well, I don't know. I didn't read them. I'm taking their word. That is heretical, and I should not read it. Okay, but then I'm looking, and I'm not that impressed either with all the things that you're doing. You're a human being, just as I am, and you have an opinion just as I do. So can I read it for myself and come to my conclusions? Guess what? We can. Now, the time of Aquarius, we have access to knowledge that we never had before. And it has been said, all that has been hidden will come up and rise again. And I encourage everybody, okay, we're just, to get out of the rut and just to question everything. And I mean everything. I mean everything. And that can be very, discombobulating for people. It may shift their paradigm, but as Jesus the Christ said, the truth shall set you free. The truth shall set you free. So you have many of them, but I love the Gnostic Gospels. You have the Bruce Codexes, but the Nag Hammadi, I believe, has a lot of information that is very valuable. What did the early Christians say? What did they say before that? What was their opinion? Okay, with the Hermes Trismegistus, all of these other great thinkers. What about you have Michelangelo? They were going to go ahead and, kill him for heresy. You have to go all the way back and say, what's going on? So all I'm going to say, to all of us here now is that we are independent, such a vital, vital key to the ascension of this beautiful planet. We hold an important key where we do not have to go through wars. We do not have to go through suffering. We do not have to repeat this over and over and over again. We are at a time, at a precipice, okay, of liberation, to be truly sovereign beings. and to be part of the higher realm of what the ancients called the pleroma, the source light, the true God, the one God, the God with a capital G, and not these other little gods, one of which created this material world. But you can go ahead and seek that information on your own. All I'm telling you, this is the time to do it, to go ahead and anchor and know who you truly are as a spiritual being made in the image of the divine. That's your identity. You're in the world, but you're not of it. You have this earth suit. Yes, you have to take care of it because it holds the temple, but it's not the all in all. You are so much more and tapped into so much more. And there is an agenda that probably doesn't want you to know about that, wants to keep you small, wants to keep you in control. Okay, but now we're not going to go the route of AI or Atlantis or that whole thing where we no longer or we start to lose our humanity. We can never lose our humanity because it is so precious, so very, very precious. So I'm just going to leave that little tidbit with you. Do your own research. Okay, and I'll see you next Monday. For those of you who would like to join the Anchoring Light Transmission Meditation, we do it every single Monday without fail. July, oh my gosh, July 16th, which is coming up, is going to be over 18 years, going 19 years, without fail, every Monday. And that's because we work with the Ascended Realms of Light. They make sure this comes. You're welcome to join us. We're here to anchor light to the problem and all rise together. Namaste, beautiful ones. I'll